Some time ago, in a little vibrant village nestled along the shimmering shores of a vast African village named Ozokka, there lived a girl called Chidera. Chidera possessed the soul of an angel and was more beautiful than any of her contemporaries. She was Ozokka's most gorgeous woman. Her mother was a kind woman who reared her despite coming from a low-income background. It was a common conversation starter whenever Chidera appeared in public. If life were not so unfair, good souls like Chidera should be protected from the sun. However, injustices do exist in life. Chidera was born with a hunchback, in spite of her exceptional conduct and attractive appearance. No male in Ozokka desired to marry her as a result. Nevertheless, Chidera's tale made its way over 7 rivers and 7 oceans before reaching the ears of a young man from a different hamlet. Ikenna was the man's name. Ikenna was a decent individual and a diligent worker. "I have seen the most beautiful woman in the world, and nothing will stop me from marrying her," he declared to his people upon seeing Chidera. "But she's got a hunchback." Despite attempts to dissuade him, he remained unwavering. "Ignore what's outside and focus on what's inside," he said. A woman's attractiveness is in her character. He handled Chidera like an egg after getting married. Chidera loved him back in a way that no girl had ever loved a man. As soon as they were married, Ikenna began searching for a treatment for Chidera's hunchback. The message persisted from town to village. There is no cure for a hunchback since the condition is a bruise that would follow its bearer to the afterlife. Ikenna persisted until he encountered the renowned Juju priest, who provided him with a resolution. The Juju priest remarked, "Your demands are high and come at a high price, Ikenna." "I'm willing to pay anything for my wife," Ikenna replied. Ikenna agreed to the solution without knowing the cost, but for this, one of his fingers had to be sacrificed. It was cut and ground into a powder by the Juju priest, who also offered Ikenna usage instructions. "This will bring her back, but until her death, she must never have any load on her head, or her hunchback will return and remain with her forever." Ikenna gave the Juju priest her thanks and took the charm with her. When he carefully followed the directions, Chidera made a full recovery. "Do you love me, Chidera?" he questioned her softly after telling her about his finger loss. "Ikenna, I know that I owe you my life," Chidera answered. "If you really love me, never carry any load on your head," Ikenna pleaded. And Chidera replied, "I will always help you, my husband, so I'm not going to make you do all the house chores anymore." However, Ikenna whispered to her, "Please, my wife, you have to refrain from. I will die if you ever carry anything on your head." Chidera sobbed more deeply than she had ever grieved upon hearing this. "I'm not worthy of your love, Ikenna," she declared. "There is no love like yours. You put your life in danger so that I could recover. I shall always adore you, even if the sun sets." She also adhered to her word. They both lived happily. However, Chidera started going to the market and other gatherings, and people began to see her more. The Prince of Ozokka, who had never noticed her before, vowed that nothing would stop him from marrying her. Accompanied by his servants, he approached Chidera. Chidera, though, was unwilling to interact with him. Chidera firmly told the prince, "My husband and I are happy together. I am married. There are other women in the world from whom you can select." Still, the prince did not give up. He tried to convince Chidera over and over again, while showering her with presents. Chidera seemed more bewildered with every step forward. Chidera understood what she stood to gain up until the day he brought her to the palace for the first time. Her heart abruptly vaporizes, along with all of her vows to Ikenna and the price he paid to get her sickness cured. The prince told Chidera as he was bidding her farewell, "You only have one life to live, and you have to decide between living as a peasant or in the palace." That night, Chidera could not sleep. She loved her husband so much. Also, Leaving the man who risked his life for her would be unbearable, even unimaginable. When Ikenna awoke the following morning, he discovered that Chidera, his wife, was not with him. When he called her name, he got no answer. He hurried outdoors, fearing the worst had happened, but Chidera was nowhere to be found. With his cutlass in hand, he dashed into the jungle to find her. He bolted in the direction of the sound, hearing a footstep approaching from the streamway. And lo and behold, Chidera, his wife, was approaching him. The largest pot in the compound rested atop her head, full with water. Chidera never saw her spouse, nor did she realize that the hunchback had come back to her. Her judgment had been muddled by the prince's lovely words and promises, and against the love of Ikenna, and she resolved in her heart to make a choice. But her choice was biased because she chose what would benefit her alone. She resolved in her heart to do what she needed to do to marry the prince. And what must she do? What moral lesson does this story teach us? Those who have assisted us in getting out of problems are people we should not abandon when we recover. Chidera believed that if she carried a burden on her head in order to marry the prince, her spouse would die. Ikenna told Chidera he would die if she carried a load on her head. That was somehow a test of love to Chidera. I hope this piece was enjoyable to you. Kindly hit the notification bell, subscribe to this channel, like, and share with your friends. I'm grateful. Let us meet again in our next folktale.